Welcome back, listeners. This is Ravi from Fraud Technology Podcast. We have with us Mehul from Ohio, from the US. Lovely to have Mehul. Mehul himself comes from a 2 decade long experience in financial crime and compliance. He has a lot of experience handling fraud in different companies. I have the pleasure of having him here. Welcome, Mehul. Would love to know how your journey started, and I also see some of the certifications that you have. So I would love to know how your journey started and some of the certifications that you got.
Thank you, Ravi, for having me. It's really an honor to be on this show, on this podcast. I was a team lead in India in Wipro at the call center there. So it started from there. I was a team lead for the dispute and fraud process for Capital One. Wipro had an outsource there, and so I was pretty much interested in frauds and disputes because it's not the same day every day. Every case is different, and
Yeah.
that made me more inclined towards it. So I did my cyber laws again while working there, and then I had an opportunity to come down to the US. I kept my domain. I continued with the same domain, fraud and disputes, basically credit cards. And then I worked in different platforms in here, in like Discover and Fiserv, and I got to know more, all those Rupee and the normal platforms, the famous ones. I worked on all of them. And at one point, I thought, man, I know everything about this now. I need to do something more, So
Yeah.
meanwhile, I also did I did our RPA, like process automation. I learned that. I kept doing SQL and some data mining and all. That I thought was we need to learn all that because things were changing. It was getting a more techie kind of thing, and I didn't want to fall back. So when I used to be in meetings and hear things, I'm like, okay, I need to
Pick it up.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of a
Yeah. Yeah.
curious. Fraud people are curious. So if you stop hitting your head, you are not in fraud anymore. So then I came to know about ACAMS, and then I did my ACAMS. ACAMS is a tough exam, and I fortunately did that. So now I work with a company called Bread Financial. It was earlier known as Alliance Data. I do work with the fraud department, or it's called the account protection department there. I investigate fraud, and I'm also kind of a subject matter expert. People reach out to me with questions, and almost like 20-year journey now, same domain, but now being an ACAM member, I also look into money laundering, and fraud has changed a lot. So yeah, different areas I get to cover. Uh,
Okay. I understand.
Enjoying my job.
So, so you talked a little bit about learning SQL and how that started becoming a thing in fraud, right? So can I understand a little bit more about how it was in the previous time, and then how you had to pick some of these technical tools to be on top of the fraud?
Yeah, so earlier, like it was not that digital back when, like maybe 10, 50 years back. So the common frauds were like phishing fraud and, the spams, and they were not so technically like
Sophisticated.
anyone
Okay.
could do that. Like so it started evolving more, and then the internet became more accessible to people, and then things started changing. Techie guys became fraudsters, and they started learning new things to do the fraud. So that is when I started doing more of. And my as I told you, my wife is a data scientist, so she kind of used to listen to what I'm doing and give me more ideas. And then I came into this RPA thing and the SQL. SQL was okay. We had Excel and SQL, so that was a part. But RPA was
Yeah.
interesting, kind of, because credit card disputes is kind of a more of a repetition process, like
Process.
So RPAs are generally the bots. You just give them a flow chart, and hey, if the card owner says no, I don't know this person, or I don't know, if they check the boxes, you just follow the rules. So that worked, and I made a presentation in my office, and I showed them like this can be automated, the chargeback process for the credit cards, and it worked. And so that was when I really I got, like before that I was
I've,
certified for the RPA, and it worked. It's seen a lot of money, I guess, and for because naturally automated, so you need less people looking into it, and
yeah.
so that really helped. And it and sometimes I make fun of, like, I would also automate the bot to check the rates of the groceries in different stores, and which one is cheaper, and go there and buy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually personally never heard about RPA being used extensively in the fraud space. That is really interesting. I mean, I've not really heard. Is this like a very common practice, or was that a specific practice in a specific company?
No, now it's pretty common. Like, most of the tools are all
Okay.
automated tools, and uh, every financial company, I believe, has an department that looks at what can be automated, and so the main point is there are less errors in that. Human errors are all eliminated, and at a point till you need a human brain. Okay, this or this is what it stops there. So that's really a good. And if a bank, like, there are so many transactions per day and so many disputes coming up, so an automation can work it on, like, quickly, like this, in a matter of some time. While if there's a manual process, it might take the whole shift or a couple of days to. That's it. Also, yeah, automation is very common now, and definitely in all the industries. Even if you go for, like, I'm just going and lifting up a little bit. Like, if you want, if you're in
Nowadays.
a hotel business, you can automate that process as well. Like, okay, well
Yeah.
should be heated till this time, and then turn off the gas. The automation can do that. So it's pretty. You just need to know what doesn't require a human brain can be automated.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I also heard about your experience getting your certification in ACAMS. ACAMS, I remember, is I mean, personally, I actually tried ACAMS, and I just didn't go through the exam itself because it's just too hard to go through. So, so congratulations on, like, I know it's been some time, but still congratulations on actually getting through the certification. So, what I want to understand is ACAMS is more a anti-money laundering, AML related
Yeah.
certification. So how did it help in your fraud space? I mean, uh, how does it work together?
So ACAMs and frauds are, I believe, twins. So ACAMs is kind of fraud, like it's money laundering. So fraud, you do fraud, and then you get the money. So
Yeah,
you need to launder it
to
somehow. So
launder
that
it.
goes hand in hand. So,
Yeah,
like, you commit the fraud first, and then you have the money, and then so ACAMS is a very good certification, as you already said that it's tough to crack. It's not like going to school and
memorizing
yeah,
things.
just
Yeah,
memorizing things. You have to use a logic. They don't even tell you which answers are wrong and right. So again, they just tell you at the end of the exam that this portion you scored this, and you didn't score well here, and you scored well. So it's like that, and it's tough. So um, while studying for ACAMS, I came into ACAMS was really kind of it gave me a more broader view, like understanding financial crimes and, like, terrorist financing, and they have for chapters on human trafficking and many different things and normal fraud that happens. So it's an ever evolving thing, and ACAMS is a universal itself. Like, it was wrong all around the world. Everyone knows what ACAMS is. And basically, the different methods and the different practices that people do, like region-wise, like in Mexico, there are these types of fraud that come in. So you can take care of that. And now banks, being universal banks, they are all around. So you have to have that knowledge of which area, how to deal with what kind of fraud happens there. And ACAMS gives you a kind of platform where you regularly go to their website, and you go to seminars, and you get yourself updated. So even, like, even if like, I never had out of politically exposed people before I did ACAMP. So then that is
yeah,
something that
yeah.
now banks follow. So you get to learn new things. And if you're in this job, you have to keep yourself updated. You have to, like, you have to be ahead of those fraudsters. So you have to. So this really helps a lot. I'm not sure if I answered
Okay.
your question because I start thinking and I just drift off.
No worries,
We'll
no
be
worries.
back.
I think one of the key concepts that you talked about was about anti-money laundering and fraud being a twin, basically. That one has to happen, fraud has to happen, and then money laundering has to definitely happen after that, right? So that's a key that I got from there, right? So with also so much experience doing this, right? Um, can I understand from you for a financial institution or let's say a new fintech that is starting out, what are the key foundational layers that you need to have effective fraud fighting function?
So earlier, the first thing is you have to be informed. Like you have to know what you're doing. You have to be adaptive. You have to change according to your customer base or according to the business you're doing, and then the you have to be open to technology. Like you cannot. It's difficult to do anything without technology. So like data analytics or AI, artificial intelligence, you have to have make use of these to stay safe. Again, the most important thing is customer education. You have to educate your customers on the common fraud schemes that are going on. Like send them emails, send them brochures like, hey, it's Christmas season, this might happen. Santa Claus may come and say, "Hey, I'm going to give you this free." So you have to. Customer education is the basic. You have to have that. You to have got your employees trained. They are. Most of the banks have this. Like they have annual coaching that the employees have to clear up,
Coach.
and then you have to the training should be ongoing, continuous monitoring. You have to keep monitoring. You have those systems in place that keep checks on what's going on, and if there's something suspicious, like to file a suspicious activity report, or you need to reach out to some flags should be there should be some red flags in place. Okay, and then there have to be due diligence that's very important. You have to periodically
Mm.
conduct due diligence on not only your customers but even the third party vendors, like who your customers deal with. So you have to
Yep.
have an idea of like what's going on, and then you have to usually law enforcement has to be updated. Like there are laws, regional laws, different regional laws. Like they might have to submit some reports to the law enforcement, and again, data privacy is very important. The insider trading or insider breach should not happen. You have to be very careful. Like your people are not selling the data or selling customer information in any form. So data privacy is important. For that, you have to do regular audits. Get them, like external auditors should come and they should have audits. Machine learning and all is very important. Again, you usually all the banks do have these whistleblower lines, or those
Policies,
yeah,
yeah.
where they if your cashier thinks like, hey, this is something suspicious, so without the person knowing, they can just dial a number or some kind of alert, and
Okay.
this is really helpful in all. I think this
Okay.
should.
So you talked about knowledge and being on top of the topic, right? And also you talked about educating the customers. You also talked about employee management and things. So all these sound like AML functions.
Yeah.
AML regulatorily, you're supposed to do money laundering training to all your employees, etc. Right? So is it also a common practice to do that for fraud as well?
Yeah, as I told you, it goes hand in hand. So if there is anything suspicious, kind of, why is this person depositing only 9,900 bucks or 10,000? Why does he come 3 times a week? And why? So that's something like that's because maybe he's laundering money. But where did this money come from? What did he?
Yeah, yeah.
What's his business? Why is this payroll kind of in round figures all the time? Why doesn't it come in decimals? If it is it human trafficking? Is it prostitution? Like, so the training helps people to find out. And fraud again, I said customer education. So you have to know the difference between a dispute and a fraud. Basic.
Mm.
If for the customer, everything is fraud. that that shop is a, that owner is a fraudster. He's not. The sofa, you have the red sofa, he gave you a green sofa, so he's not a fraudster. You
Exactly.
and a dispute. So that's customer education. So everything goes hand in hand, and then your employee should be able to explain, hey, sir, this is not fraud. This is we can dispute it, but it's a different train that we have to catch. This won't work. So
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. And so in your fraud investigation process, right? Can I understand what are the different stages like, and what are the different steps, and how do you? So one, how does a case come to you, and how do you go about investigating it, and then how do you? What is the closure? What are the decisions, and then what are the implication of those decisions?
So, are you talking about credit card fraud?
Oh, any of the process. You can pick credit
Okay,
card if that's more.
let's talk about credit because I work more on that. So, a credit card, what happens like general like customer sees a statement and he says, "Hey, charge from XYZ as I don't know." So you call the bank, the credit card bank, and say, "Hey, I don't know why this came on my account, my charge." So the call, it will go to the call center in the bank. That person is just his job is to just make a note and send in a form. He'll send them, okay, you don't know this charge, okay, I'll send you a form. And then they'll send the form and temporarily he'll block the card. He might change the card number just to be sure they follow the general procedures they need to. And once the customer gets the form, he'll fill out it. From that form, it will go to the fraud department or the account or whichever department is that handles those complaints. And there these individuals are trained on disputes and frauds. So they will determine if it's a dispute or a fraud. And then on the banks work on these platforms like Visa, MasterCard, Amex, they all have to follow those rules. So there are different rules for every kind of fraud and every kind of dispute. So once that is determined what kind of dispute it is, or like you're charged twice, or you're charged a different amount, or maybe that's a dispute kind of thing. And if you know
Yeah.
what this charge is for, it's a fraud. So that individual representative who is in the bank will determine it and they will file the necessary things. So then it will go to the next department where the investigator will come. So the investigator they have more access, more tools to the cardholder data. Say they can go in and they can reach out to the merchant. They can try to figure out. And if they think that this is still, we cannot get back our money, so they'll file a dispute or a fraud dispute. And it will go to the platform they're working on. Like if it's, let's consider it's
Yeah,
MasterCard.
MasterCard.
Right? So they'll follow the MasterCard rules. MasterCard will, they'll send the dispute to MasterCard. Hey, this is, the customer says it's not theirs. MasterCard will reach out to the merchants bank and say, hey, this has come down to you. Do you have any evidence showing it? Do you refute it? If yes, give me evidence. So again, there is a time limit, like 30 days, 60 days, 45 days for every process. So it's not like it happens like this, not like that.
Yeah.
The merchant's bank will send it to the merchant. Hey man, this is a problem. So no, I know this guy. I have a signature. Okay, he'll send a copy of that signature. He has signed it. So that again will come back to our bank or the cardholder's bank. And then the cardholder's bank will show, hey, this is your signature. Oh yeah, the name was different. I remember. So okay, it's good. Case is
Okay.
the merchant gets back his money. Meanwhile, the money is on hold with MasterCard or the platform.
Yeah.
And the case is, if the cardholder says, no, I still don't know, this is not my signature. Again, we go back. No, this is not the cardholder. And then if it's a high dollar amount or high amount, then the banks will go to a third party arbitrator. And then they will be the people who decide final, like the court.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how it works. So it's
Okay.
going
Okay.
through to and fro. But then once many parameters are getting that if the merchant does not respond in time, he loses. If the cardholder does not respond in time, he loses. Every bank have their rules, but basically they are the same type of. They can go back twice, and if it's and again the bank will decide. Again, so banks have different kind of thresholds. If some bank might say, hey, 50 rupees or $50 charge it is not worth. I'll just write it off. I'll just give it back because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bank has to pay the platform.
Exactly,
Mastercard wants to
exactly.
earn money, so they want money
Yeah,
from the merchant and the banks. So
yeah,
I think for
got it.
$50, if I have to pay $150, it doesn't make sense. They'll just write it off.
Okay, understand. So for the last 2 days, personally, I've been trying to buy something using my credit card, using my own card, right?
Okay.
Uh, and then I've tried two, three different cards with the same merchant, and it's still rejected. Now, obviously, the merchant says go check your bank, right? I'm traveling right now, so I can't really go back to my Singaporean bank to call them up and ask them, hey, what's going on, right? Now, typically there are some companies which do provide declined transactions and stuff, but it is not available. So I actually don't know, and it goes to the OTP level, and it's like after that it's getting rejected, and I keep checking, is it being charged? It is
Yeah.
not. So I'm like wondering what exactly is going on here. So I'm sure this is not the process that you talked about, which is basically I get the report later and then I
Yeah.
report it as a consumer. That's a problem, right? In this case, it's a genuine transaction, but there seems to be a fraud. Fraud check somewhere that is happening. Now I'm trying to wonder: is it on the merchant side? Is it on the platform side? Is it on the bank side? So I wanted to understand a little bit more of how, in this situation, what is happening.
So, like again, every bank keeps checks in, like they have their own, according to the bank and the region there, they, and the customers again, they have checks like, okay. So if I am in Columbus and tomorrow I make a charge from Australia, it's going to block it. Man, you never told us you go to Australia. How do we know it's you?
Yeah,
The same thing might be happening with you if you have not informed your bank. So
yeah,
ideally, you should tell your bank, hey, I'm traveling, okay? I'm traveling to these places, so there might be a charge from. So when you call them, they will make a note, and they will say, hey, don't block the charges, okay? It's or maybe nowadays usually like the OTP, some banks they have automated callers, like they just you just get a call. Did you make this charge? You say yeah, okay, fine, done. You said no, your card is blocked. Someone is using your card. So
yeah,
you
yeah.
usually have to inform them in advance that it's usually written in the terms and conditions of the fine print, but people normally don't read it. But it's for your safety that the bank is blocking it. And
Yeah.
again, I think
So it is on the bank side.
it's a
So the bank has
yeah,
a fraud monitoring
prevention
tool,
kind of thing. Yeah,
right? And the transaction is going into that particular tool.
yeah,
And there is some rules as you talked about terms and
yeah,
conditions. And then overseas is, let's say, one of the parameters that's going in,
yeah.
and there's probably a flag that is coming out there.
It could be
Uh,
kind of anything. Kind of if you're getting charged a couple of times, it might block. Like if the
yeah,
other day I'd been to a casino actually. I'd gone for my A-card
yeah,
session, but I tried some games there. So don't get me wrong, but they were showing us how money laundering happens in the casino. So I thought, I've
yeah,
never played, I've never betted money, but I said, let me try. So I was playing a game, but $7 each time. So once
mm,
I played, I lost. I said, okay, let me try. The third time, my card got blocked. I got a message on my phone. Hey,
uh-huh,
is
uh-huh,
that you? I'm like, yeah, yeah, okay. So thank
uh-huh,
you. My bag. I stopped
uh-huh,
playing. I'm like, okay. But it's again, it's up to the bank, and sometimes even you proactively you can for your safety. I would say you should see if there's any transaction over this limit. Do give me a call first. Even if I'm making it, I want to make sure, like, if you have your authorized user, like you have a card with your wife, your kid, your family members, someone might lose it, but you want to still be safe. Like, okay, I take care of my card, but if they don't take, I still want to be safe. You
yeah,
have to let my wife should not do shopping over $50. Like, but you can keep checks on that, and there are many things that the banks have now in place that
yeah.
keep you safe. Yeah.
Okay, understand. So we talked a lot about credit card and the processes, right? So can I understand a little bit more about other types? Because credit card seems like a very structured investigation process. There doesn't seem to be too much of investigation because you're relying on the processor, right? Because they are the ones who is like arbitraging between
Yeah.
you and
Yeah.
them. There's not. I mean, I guess you are investigating. You are probably deciding what type of it is, but you're probably not really doing much of investigating. right? So I wanted to understand how this would work in a non-credit card fraud. Like let's say, for example, account takeover. Somebody takes over my account and then cleans the money from my account, right?
Yeah.
And I may or may not even realize for a few days that that actually happened because that's not a standard process. I'm not sure, right? So I wanted to understand how a fraud investigation would trigger. I'm guessing it still starts from the consumer. How would it go in a non-credit card scenario?
So, as you said, it would come out from the customer. Like if you get um, a letter asking you to pay some dues, like I never know this person. I never done this charge. So you call up your bank and say, hey, why did this money go to this person? Like, and then we bank will say, hey, you did that, and then we start investigating. Then we
Yeah,
understand that somebody called up on this date. They had got your information like your birth date or whatever is needed in a bank to make changes on your account. Like if you go to change your address, they're going to ask you a couple of things to verify it's you. So somebody from the dark web, they stole your details or maybe from some place, and they called up, um, and they changed the address, they changed the phone number, and they have taken over your account now because it's everything different now. And then they go buy, usually account takeovers, the people, they buy electronic things or things that can be resold again, and they get a good
yeah,
price. And then they have those temporary addresses. Usually it's a
post
post
box,
box,
mailbox.
where
Yeah,
even if we try to go back and figure out where that machine has left, we find it difficult. Temporary pin boxes we have. So then at that time, when you reach out to the bank saying that it's not me, I had never called up. So it would be the bank's fault that they did not verify your information correctly. Usually the banks, they take up the loss. Like, okay, we didn't verify your information. But again, that also needs investigation. So then at that point, we are going to reach out to the merchant. We are going to try to get evidence if, I don't know, if the cardholder is lying or it's really.
yeah,
So we have to just verify that. If the cardholder is lying, we'll say, no, man, it's you. So, or maybe it's a family member. Usually, it's, a lot of things happen with family members. They do that things. But I'm seeing a lot of account takeovers happening with senior citizens because they are not that tech savvy, and they usually these spam callers. They call them and they, hey, you know, your or nowadays AI, like they have
yeah.
voice takeovers and all. They just, hey, I'm stuck here. Can you send this money or something? They can just get information from them and boom, online. They're already logged in. While you're talking, your account is salting.
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
fast, yeah.
Understand. So when you're also doing fraud investigations, right? Can I understand a little bit more about what kind of tools that you use, and what are some of the tools, cool tools that are available to fighting fraud?
There are many tools. Every bank have different tools. Some of the common tools are accurate, and as I said, they're nice tools are there. We have tools for different purposes, like we can listen to calls. We can and every call that customer makes to a bank is
Okay.
being recorded. So the investigator might go to the statement and you say, hey, I don't know ABC company. And then 6 months ago, I do see a ABC charge, which you have not disputed. So now you don't know him, but earlier you knew him. So I'm going to listen to calls, and I might get some point that, oh, okay. And I figure out, hey, this is not fraud. Okay, you're lying now. So I know that is all. Every investigation is different. It depends on every case. Again, we have access to, investigators have access to data that we can go deep into your account. We can go see your family members. We can see who are they, where they stay. We can get your address, phone numbers, everything. We can work with law enforcement. We can, if we don't have access to some data, we can reach out to them, or maybe they can, if a police complaint is filed, they can reach out to us and we talk to them and figure out. So many of tools, it's not difficult to fool banks nowadays. And yeah, I would say that so apart from time constraint, if there's anything there's nothing comes in between. Like the time that sometimes, because everything has a time limit, you have to close a case by law in that time. If we're out of time, we just have to write off. So
What's the typical time frame like?
120 days usually
Okay.
from the day from the statement date actually. Or again, it depends on the bank. Sometimes 15 days plus minus. Sometimes some banks say date of the charge or some date of the statement, but not 120 days approximately, like 3 months.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. And when you're using, so as an investigator, right? So there may be a situation. So you did talk about for credit cards, let's say if it is $50, sometimes it is probably not worth even investigating, right? So what are typically the cases that even come to investigation? Maybe there are some situations where the customer service, they themselves clear it out saying that, this is not even worth investigating, right? Not even worth going to the investigator, right? So I wanted to understand what is this, what type of cases do actually go to investigation?
So again, as you said, that again, there's a threshold for every bank. Like it says, every case is made a note of. Like if you are, the banking process, and you keep disputing
Yeah.
$25 every month. There's a point when there's a trigger come, hey man, then we are not dealing
Yeah.
with you anymore. So even if you're not
Yeah.
investigating, we will like, oh,
Uh,
we said we'll send you a break off letter. Happy, said we are done with you now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you keep disputing charges, like suppose I'm disputing Amazon charge every time, and although we write it off, but we do let Amazon know that this is being disputed. Amazon keeps marking you, and then one finally Amazon will tell you we are not doing business.
Yeah.
So you lose
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
And again, the third thing mostly people don't realize is that you keep disputing charge, it keeps hitting your credit score. So sometimes when you go to banks to get loans or anything, your credit score is that's going to be a problem for the customer. They don't know all these basic rules, and then at that time they think, oh my god, this is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
The size of the dispute, is that the only consideration, or there are other things that could play into a case going into investigation? Is the amount the only consideration?
usually the amount from as far as
Okay.
I understand, but again, it's completely the investigators' case, like or the bank's case. If they kind of it's depends, like for an example, if it's holiday season and a lot of disputes coming in, and you again you have to follow the time shift. You have so many disputes, but you will pick the high dollar one or high amount one
Yeah.
first because
Yeah.
that's a bigger loss for you. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so again, it's not a fixed rule, but it keeps changing. But basically, the amount does matter a lot. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this brings me to the point. So let's say you cross the 120 days. What exactly happens? Let's say you have not concluded anything, or you don't have enough information to say whether this is actually a fraud or not. Right? What happens at 120 days?
You have to take the loss. The bank takes the loss.
So you just pay back.
We just close the case.
You just assume that the customer is right,
In the account
basically.
illustrator, yeah, and then it's a CRA law that every bank in the US. I work in the US, so I know about that law. So I've been able to create this some kind of law for everyone.
Similar.
You cannot keep dragging the customer. What if he's right and he's just tired? Already been, I'm calling you almost every day. So it will also
Yeah.
be an end to it.
Okay. Okay. Understand. Understand. And this probably would be the last question that I want to go through is so having been through this ecosystem and been in the fraud space for so long, what are some things that you would like to see uh, to happen, or what kind of technology or a practice or a process that should have happened but has not happened that you would look forward to happen?
That this I don't have an exact answer because I being a fraud investigator, I want to stay in job. So, short, apart from looks, but sure, it's like a circle, a vicious circle. Like you keep making new technologies, and fraudsters are going to get better off that one. Every lock is going to get a key. So
Yeah.
I understand you're working on facial recognition and software like that. So I have come across some places like I've read somewhere that you won't one point of time you won't need to carry your credit cards. You can just do a palm recognition kind
Yeah.
of thing. And so technology is getting better, but I'm sure the bad guys will figure out
Also, yeah.
ways to that. But um, the best part is the more digital transactions you do, the more safer you are. I think because they're easy to track down, they're easy to uh, keep control on, and they will. The more digital, like in India, it's happening all digitalized. So the bad guys, they don't want to come into the books, so it becomes difficult for them to do money laundering kind of business or anything, because you one fine day you're going to get caught. And
Yeah.
going forward, yeah, as I said, everything is getting automated. Everything,
Yeah.
and
You are helping the automation by
yeah,
learning RPA, basically.
yeah. So again, I said my question of my job, like you, you have to learn new things, and
New things
you have
all
to
the time.
stay ahead
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
monsters. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Mehul. That was a lot insightful. I really loved some of the things that you talked about. I mean, some of the things that I actually didn't know in the as much detail as well. So thank you so much, and lovely to have you. And have a nice day.
Sure, Ravi. Thank you for having me, and I love talking to you. I can go on and on, but yeah,
Yeah,
and definitely, if you have any more questions, then definitely reach out to me. Have a great day.
yep.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Mehul. Thank you.